Greetings everyone, and welcome to another Sol at the Movies. I just got back from seeing Coco by Pixar Animation Studios. And here are my thoughts on it. So Coco is about a young boy named Miguel Rivera, who is a musician at heart, and he lives in a small village in Mexico. And because he's a musician, all he wants to do is play music and be like the famous musician Ernesto de la Cruz. However, his family, they hate music because his ancestor, or specifically Miguel's great-great-grandfather, walked out on his wife and child, Coco, because he wanted to be a musician. So music is seen as a curse on the family, and so no music is allowed to be played ever, anywhere. And so, because Miguel wants to be a musician, he tries to compete in a local talent show that happens on Dia de los Muertos, aka Day of the Dead, and he takes Ernesto de la Cruz's guitar in order to play. But then he finds, after stealing from the dead, that he goes to the land of the dead, and he must find a way to get back before sunrise before he becomes likewise. So, I like this plot. It actually kind of reminds me of Corpse Bride, just a lot more Mexican, which is great, because you don't really see this sort of setting in high-budget animated films that much. I mean, Mexico's a little bit overlooked when it comes to animation, other than when it's being horribly stereotyped or joked about. So, to see Mexico and Mexican culture be portrayed in a very tasteful, very accurate, and very respectful manner is actually really refreshing. In terms of person going to the land of the dead and trying to get back, it's not too original. It's just the execution that actually is very refreshing, I would say. It's extremely colorful, it's very straightforward in terms of its through line, and it's just very satisfying overall, I would say. So yeah, it's not blowing any minds. Maybe, I mean, if you've never seen a movie like this, it might blow your mind, but if you've seen a lot of movies that are like this about some guy going to the dead and coming back, it won't blow your mind, but it'll still be satisfying for sure. And so the protagonist is Miguel, who is a young boy who's a musician, and I actually really like Miguel. He's, like, instantly endearing, very charming young boy. And he doesn't have any obnoxious traits or anything like that. He's just a good, kind-hearted boy who wants to play music, but his family won't let him. Which is good, because I was really hoping he wouldn't be obnoxious. Now, I have yet to see a Pixar movie other than Cars 2 where any of the main characters are obnoxious. So they're continuing on with that trend very strongly. It's just, yeah, there was a part of me that was sort of afraid that he'd try to be, like, hip or something. I don't know, just based on the advertising, I kinda got that impression, but I was wrong. He is very likable. He's fun to have a whole movie with, for sure. And one of the supporting characters is Hector, who I'm not going to go into too much detail, but again, he was a bit of a surprise, because Hector wants to get back to the land of, he wants to go back to the land of the living on Dia de los Muertos to see a certain someone, but nobody put his picture up on a ofrenda, which is basically like a shrine, I guess you could call it. I don't know what you would specifically call it, but if you put the picture of the dead person on an ofrenda, it means that they can return to the land of the living on Dia de los Muertos. So nobody has put his picture up on the ofrenda, so he wants Miguel to put his picture up on his family's ofrenda so that he can come back. I like Hector a lot. I thought he was gonna be like that sort of charming, beguiling, roguish kind of character who lies to the protagonist and, "Oh, you lied to me," kind of thing. But actually he wasn't like that, which is cool. He's not roguish or anything like that, he's just a skeleton that nobody remembers. He is very likable too. I appreciate that he is not the liar in this scenario. It actually gets a little bit flipped on its head, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But yeah, all the characters in this movie, there are a lot of them too, because Miguel's family is very large. They're all very likable. Even the people who are technically against Miguel are still very likable. They don't come off as evil and villainish, except for a certain someone who I really, really don't want to spoil it. I really am trying not to, so I'm not gonna go into any more detail, but let's just say that that's actually the only thing I could say that's bad about this movie. And it's not even that bad, it's just I think this movie might have been slightly better if it didn't have an antagonist, which is actually the way I thought it was going to go for about half the movie. Because not every movie needs an antagonist for there to be conflict, especially movies that are a lot more human in nature. Especially Coco, which is very human in nature, especially the last 10 minutes. So that's kind of the only thing I could say against it, is that I think it could have done well without an antagonist, but having an antagonist isn't the end of the world. I'm just saying that I think it could have been worth a shot, at least. But in terms of what's good, everything else. Obviously, the animation is absolutely gobsmackingly amazing. The score, which is composed by Michael Giacchino, is amazing, very powerful. Obviously, it's very sad due to the nature of the story, it being about death and everything like that, and being forgotten, and memory, and family. Very emotional themes, which, yeah, everyone says they cried in the last 10 minutes. I did too. It was very sad. But it was sort of a, you know, a happy kind of sadness, so it was definitely connected with me emotionally. The characters are very likable, it's extremely colorful, which is great because a lot of movies where character goes to Land of Dead and comes back, the Land of the Dead is usually very drab and boring, so this one is super colorful, especially the alebrijes, which are the spirit animals. They're very colorful and very interesting. I thought, though, that there would be more alebrijes, since everyone is supposed to have one, and there should be millions of dead people here, but there aren't. I mean, they do kind of explain the lack of millions of dead people in the movie itself, but I don't want to spoil it, so yeah, I'll just leave it with that. But design-wise, it's so good, it's very respectful, it's great. I can't think of anything else to say other than just, it's an amazing Pixar movie. It is one of my favorites, for sure. Right up there with The Incredibles and Toy Story 3. It's just, every single facet of it is superbly executed. Even down to the comedic relief dog, Dante, who, yeah, is the comedic relief dog, but at least he has his actual story importance. He's not just there to be like, oh, he's cute. He's not even that cute, to be honest. He's I think it's called a Zolo dog or something, which are like hairless dogs, so they're not designed to be, you know, overly cute or anything like that. He's just a silly dog. But yeah, every single part of this movie works. You could tell that it's an extremely passionate movie. That this is a movie that's been in the works for a very long time, at least according to my knowledge. You could tell that everybody involved really, really wanted this movie to come to life. You know, it wasn't like Cars 2, where they just, we need to turn a profit this year kind of thing. This is a story that is so deeply rooted in the passionate intentions of its creators that you can feel it every step of the way. It's something special, for sure. The fact that it's about death just is kind of the icing on the cake to me, because I actually really like stories about death. Not so much ones that are cartoony about it, but ones that ruminate on the idea of being forgotten a little bit more, which to me is one of the scariest things, is the idea that you would be forgotten forever. That's terrifying, that prospect. So the fact that it deals with that too, I think is really good. It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Toy Story 3, the idea of being forgotten and discarded by the people who love you. It's amazing. It was an amazing movie, and I'm incredibly glad I saw it. The only thing I'll say, though, that I wasn't glad that I saw has nothing to do with Coco itself, but that fucking Frozen short that came before it. It was way too long. It was fantastically cringe throughout the entire thing, and all the songs just felt so like, buy our soundtrack, we want you to buy our soundtrack kind of thing. So yeah, I know this is supposed to be a video about Coco, but I can't help it, because it's like 1/5 of the running time of the entire movie is this Frozen short, and it's about Olaf, who is the worst character in the movie, and the most annoying piece of shit that Disney has shit out for a long time. So that was not pleasant, but the movie itself, yes, was amazing, and I would recommend it to hell and back, I would. So if you haven't seen it already, please see it. It's already the highest grossing film of all time in Mexico. It beat the box office. It beat Justice League in the box office. It's incredible. Everything you've been hearing about it, good review-wise, is true, I would say. You know, if you don't like it, that's okay, but I'm just saying, it is a genuine, passionate, colorful, characterful, amazing movie, and I would say it's probably gonna win the Oscar this year. I mean, if it doesn't, then I'm sure something Disney will, but as long as we can agree that the Emoji Movie shouldn't be on there, then that's fine with me. And that's all I have to say about that.